Do you know what the number one reason people fail in this type of business is? They start to listen to other people. How many times have we started up a new distributor? They get all excited, all enthusiastic, and they go out there and they start talking to some of their friends, family, neighbors, and coworkers, and somebody laughs at them, and they get a no, and they fold up their tent and they go home. Has that happened to anyone? Or maybe it took 2 no's. Or maybe it was 3 people that told them that their product was no good. Oh, I know about that company. I know some people got involved in that and it didn't work for them. Or, oh, it's one of those deals. Or, oh, that product's no good. Or, oh, that opportunity's no good. Or, you're no good. And it takes sometimes maybe a handful of no's or 1 or 2 no's, and people quit. And they fold up their tent. They start to listen to other people. The greatest teacher of all times, when he was putting together his organization, he put together what? His top 12. And he was teaching and training them and working with them for 3 years. And he was going to send them out into the streets 2 by 2 to tell the story, right? And what did he say before he sent them out there? He said that, 1 minute, gentlemen, before you go out there, not every home will be to your accord. Make sure you shake every grain of sand from your shoes before you leave. What he meant by that is it doesn't matter whether they buy your story. What matters is whether you buy their story. There is safety in numbers. There is the law of averages. So I got clear on this very early in the business, and it helped me a lot. I mean, most people, if you can get past your family, you'll become a millionaire in the business. I mean, my mom still is waiting for me to get a real job today. Can you believe that?
You guys understand the power of this thing that we have in our hands? I mean, a 21-year-old broke waiter is what Jeff was. 21-year-old broke waiter. Embrace this concept of networking that we have here. Learn some of the ideas that other people taught him, because in this business, are we selfish? Are we selfish with knowledge and information that can help empower you to greatness? We're not. And those people were not selfish to him, but the thing about it is that Jeff was very teachable. That's one of the key concepts. You got to have a desire, you got to be teachable, and you have to have a willingness to put in the work. That's what it's going to take. It's not something for nothing. And this guy here is definitely a testament of what the power of this industry have to offer. From 21-year-old broke waiter to multi-millionaire. As a matter of fact, I believe in Florida he's building this 3-story house that has 1 bedroom in it. 5 stories? A 5-story house with 1 bedroom. Millions of dollars for this home. We got to talk, Jeff. Well, anyway, I want you guys to get ready. I want you to get those pens out. I want to see them moving at all times, because anytime you can learn from someone who went from being a broke waiter at the age of 21 to now $30 million in the last 10 years, you definitely want to pay attention to that. So what I want you to do for people that are maybe out there still that haven't come in yet from lunch is I want you to help me give a fantastic welcome from Florida, Mr. Jeff Roberti. Yeah.
You know, I really enjoyed Eileen's talk, correct? Eileen? I really enjoyed her talk the other day, and I related to her more than the other speakers because of some of the things that I've learned about the industry here just recently. And the Direct Selling Association, the DSA, publishes the statistics about our industry, you know, direct sales. And did you know that the majority of the people that are involved in direct sales and network marketing are women? I believe the figure is, what, over 80%? And over 80% are, I guess, part-time. So it's a lot of part-time people and a lot of women. And especially in our company now, you see a lot of the top distributors are the women that are doing really well. And it kind of goes along with the article that was in the Wall Street Journal not too long ago. I don't know if you saw the article, but it said in America, over 80% of the wealth in this country is controlled by women. Ladies, how many of you already knew that before the article came out? Eileen knew that. And it said that they had easy access to the other 20%. So, it's really something to be here. This is the first time I've ever done a presentation or meeting or speaking engagement outside of my company or outside of my organization. I haven't published any books or put any tapes out there. I've really just stayed focused with recruiting and retailing and building my distributorship and working with my group. And I think we need to give Gene Scott a big hand for putting this whole thing together. And I guess I should just maybe back up and just tell you a little bit about how I got introduced into network marketing, and then I'll share with you some concepts that really changed my life. Back, I guess it would be, almost 14, 15 years ago, I was a 21-year-old broke waiter. I don't know if anybody's ever been a waiter before, but can anyone relate to waiting on tables? Can anyone relate to being broke in the room? That's where I was. I was at a point in my life where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was introduced to network marketing. A friend of mine, I got sent home early one night from waiting tables, and a friend of mine invited me out to a meeting. And I'll never forget, I went out to that first meeting, and I got exposed that first night. And I sat in the room, and there was a guy there named Larry Thompson. I don't really tell this story to too many people, but you're going to get the real story. Because I usually just say I was a broke waiter and came right in and everything else was great. It just all worked out. But I was exposed to this guy, Larry Thompson and Mark Hughes, and they were talking in the room that night. I was sitting in the back of the room. They were talking about, for things to change, you've got to change. And for things to get better, you've got to get better. And they were talking about you can have more in life if you become more in life. And talking about taking complete responsibility for where you are in life and where you aren't in life. And not to see things the way they are, but to see things the way they could become. And I left that meeting that night, and they talked about going into business for yourself and being your own boss and being able to build up your own distributorship, your own home-based business, and being able to earn what you're worth. And I left that night very excited. I saw something there that really got me that first night. I saw people that were average people that were earning above average incomes. I went home and I thought, wow, this is my chance. Where does Jeff Roberti go? An average person with above average desire and have an opportunity to earn an above average income. And I got involved in that company. And I went through a lot of growth and learning and was a really good student. And I didn't leave that company. I was there for almost 2.5 years. And their sales went way up. They were up to almost $100 million a month in sales. And I learned a lot about consumables and retailing and a lot of great concepts there. As far as skills, sometimes it's not the money, it's what you become in the process. And I left that company, and I guess this was one of the advantages I had, is I really believed that you could earn $100,000 a month in this industry. Because I sat in the room and I saw people in that company that were making $50,000 and $100,000 a month. Grocery store checkers, school teachers, carpet cleaners, mattress salesmen, a truck driver. And I left there, and it's like, if somebody would have offered me $1 million in cash or a briefcase of the skills that I learned in that company, I would have passed on the $1 million in cash and taken the briefcase of skills. Because I left there wealthy as a person. I knew that I was never going to go back to waiting tables again. Now, I had a couple years there after this happened in '85 where I got very discouraged with the industry. And I don't know if any of you have been out there, but there was a lot of companies that were started by promoters. They really didn't have a long-term game plan, and there was a lot of companies out there that really weren't built on a solid foundation or with solid principles. The guys that were running it was very short-term, very short-sighted. And I guess that's sometimes where our industry gets a bad reputation, is there is a lot of bad companies out there. And then I was introduced, it was January of 1987, and I almost got out of network marketing. I was just getting really discouraged. And then I was introduced to Jay Martin, and their lead product at the time was a little in-home water filter, and I saw merit and value in that product, and I saw a stable company, and I thought, wow, this is my chance. And it had already been going for a while, and there was people already very successful, making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month in the company at the time. And I came into the business, and I thanked the guy that introduced me to the business. He lived in Jacksonville, Florida, and I was in Sarasota, and I had known this guy from Herbalife. And he came over and hooked up a water filter, and I tried it, and he gave me the little spiel, 3 cents a gallon versus $1 a gallon. And to me, it made a lot of sense. I really was sold on the product. And then he brought me out to a meeting in Tampa, Florida. And I saw people in the room that were same thing, earning this type of money. And I saw an 18-year-old company and a solid management team, and that's what got me that first night at that meeting, as I thought, wow, this is my chance. I've got the skills. I know what to do. And here we go. Here's a solid company and a great product that I really could believe in. Well, my sponsor quit the business that first month. He thought that something else, the grass was greener on the other side of the fence. He didn't realize it still had to be mowed, right? And, so he jumped into something else and left that company, and there I was on my own. But I had some skills, and I understood about leading by example and being the best distributor in your organization, and not to look up line, not to look down line, but to look in the mirror. And I knew if it was to be, it was up to me. And just all the things that I had learned from this experience, those 2.5 years, I was able to come into this company and really, I believed in the product, I believed in the company, but most importantly, I believed in myself. I believed that I could do it. And I just needed to find the right vehicle. And I'm not telling you this to influence you on our company or any company out there. Whatever you're doing, stay with it. Because you know what? I was talking to Mickey and Carrie. They went back up to $1 billion a year in sales. And that company came right back, and they're a giant back out there in the industry. And new people that came on board and people that stayed there became financially independent there. I was very fortunate that I did find a good company that's been in business now for almost 30 years. So I was very fortunate in the industry to find the right one. I'm sure some of you can relate and identify with that, because sometimes it's difficult to find the right company out there. When you find a good one, stay with it. Don't jump around. We've had some of our top guys leave and go elsewhere, and they have realized they made a big mistake. One of our top guys, he was $1 million earner, and he's been in 3 or 4, his 5th company now within a year. And he wishes he never would have left and stayed here and worked with us. So it's interesting how this industry works out there. When you find something good, stay with it. But to make a long story short, I got started, I went to work, and I was lacking in some areas. I didn't have a higher education. I didn't have a lot of money. I was broke at the time, because what little bit of money I had made, I spent those 2 years trying to find something else, to find the next opportunity. And I was behind on my little apartment. I had a little 800 square foot apartment. I was 2 months behind on rent, and I had a car that I still had some equity in that, and that's where I borrowed my money to start my business. But I was 24 years old at the time when I started, didn't have any higher education, and didn't have any money, but I did have a little bit of experience. I must say, I usually tell people I didn't have a lot of experience, but I did have some experience, and I believed in this industry, and I believed in myself. Well, to make a long story short, over the last 10 years, I personally have gone out and sponsored over 30 people that have done at least $500,000 in business in their organization within a 6-month period. So that's 30 people that I've sponsored personally, 31, 32, that have done $500,000 their organization within a 6-month period. Well, that has earned me in excess of $30 million with the company. And I guess I'm one of those guys Mark Yarnell was talking about, the $100,000 a week. Because to me, it used to be a dream to go to $100,000 a year. And then I realized that $100,000 a month was possible, and now I've realized that you can make $100,000 a week in this industry. But that's really nothing compared to what's going to happen in the future. You'll see top distributors in this industry, people like Ken and some of these companies and these distributors that are just really going out there and setting records, where $1 million a month will be earned as distributors out there. It's hard to believe $10,000 a month till you get to what? $5,000 a month. And our company is so different today than what it was when I first started. But back then we were really big emphasis on the front end, where we would sell people inventory and they would buy a bunch of product, and there was a lot of commissions on the front end, kind of like promotional volume. Today, we're just the opposite. Now that we've gone to consumables, we're more in line with what Eileen was talking about, where it's not as big on the front end, but it's very solid on the back end, where we have people on preferred customer and auto reorder, and we're more of a product-driven company, more of a real volume company, and very low entry levels. And we start people within their comfort zone. We don't talk this big money. We're talking to people about going out there and making $5,000 a year, $10,000 a year, $25,000 a year is a goal your first year. Something that's believable and within their comfort zone. I was fortunate to spend some time this past year with Jim Rohn. A lot of you are probably big fans of Jim Rohn like myself. I was talking to Jim and I said, Jim, share with me some of the secrets in this industry. What have you learned over the last 30-some years in network marketing and direct sales? And he said, Jeff, there's a couple things I'll share with you. And this was a privilege for me because I was getting to have lunch with Jim Rohn. He said, one thing is the business is very simple. What it boils down to is if people would learn just a few simple disciplines and do them over and over and over again. I'll give you an example. If you talk to 3 people a day, nothing much happens the first few days. But do that consistently for a year, now you've what? talk to 1,000 people, right? If you do that consistently every day, employ yourself and have that consistency of effort, work habits, and attitude, just like your product. How many of you involved in consumables? Most of the room? If you want results on your product line, what do you have to do? Use it consistently every day. How many of you work out in the gym? Anyone into fitness? Same thing in the gym. What's it like? The first couple days, what's it like in the gym? It's painful, right? How many says it's painful out there the first couple of days of the gym? I mean, you go in there, but after the first week or the second week, what starts to happen? You start to establish some momentum and you start to get some results by doing it consistently. The other thing Jim Rohn shared with me is he said, Jeff, you're better off in this industry to start people off in their comfort zone and start them part-time. Because if you can work with somebody on a part-time basis and they can start making an extra $500 or $1,000 a month on a part-time basis within their first couple, 2-3 months, you're a hero. But if you start somebody full-time, and like Eileen was talking about, and they come out of their comfort zone, and here they leave their work environment and all this pressure, and you've got the first couple months you're working with them, and you don't get their income up to a certain level, usually $500 or $1,000 or even $2,000 a month in some cases, you're a failure, and you lose them. So these were a couple things Jim Rohn shared with us, and that's kind of how we've shifted our business. And it's interesting because sometimes people out in the industry, they think, wow, look at all these full-time people that left. We've got a lot of part-time people that are working their way up and building it on a solid foundation. I have learned so much just over the last couple years, really more than I've learned in the last 15 years, about how to build a solid business, how to build it on rock, not sand. Now, I'm going to share with you today some concepts that really changed my life. Put this down in your notes. Understand that concepts are constant, techniques always vary. In other words, the concepts of building a distributorship, the basics and the fundamentals are always constant, but the techniques can vary. Whether it's home parties or audio cassettes or conference calls, there's different means and ways of building the distributorship, different techniques that distributors use. What I teach people is the concepts. I like to keep the business fun, simple, easy, magical, and duplicatable. And here's a couple of the concepts that really made a difference for me. Number one is I'm a very product-oriented person. In other words, if you want to build your business on a solid foundation, whether you're leading with the opportunity or leading with your product, make sure that your distributors believe and feel strongly about your product. In other words, here's something to put down in your notes. You want your people to come from a position of strength and have that voice of authority when they talk to people about your product. It's not what you say, it's how you feel about what you say. People communicate more with feelings than they do words. And it was very important that I believed in the product myself. And the majority of our top distributors in our company are people that really believe and feel strongly about the product. Now, if you're not involved in consumables or a product you can't feel strongly about, then adjust whatever I'm saying here. I was raised with consumable products, and that's where I've always built my distributorship. So that was the first one. And I find that you'll sell the products that you use. It's very difficult as a distributor if you have different products in your organization, in your company, and if you're not using and taking all the products yourself, it's very difficult to sell all the different products. So build it on a solid foundation. And even people that don't go out and build a successful distributorship, what you want to do is keep them on your printout, reordering some product every month, every year, week after week, month after month, year after year, where they're on there as customers at least using the product, whether they're a distributor or a customer. Because a lot of people won't go on and do what it takes and make the changes in their life to go out there and build up a successful organization. How many of you have had some zeros on your printout? You'd like to turn some of those into maybe $50 or $100 or $200 a month orders. So if you build it around the product and you have people reordering the product, you've got something there that's solid. Another concept that helped me a lot was a concept called sharing and caring. Network marketing is all about sharing and caring. Not only do you share a product with somebody, but you have to care more about that customer using the product and the results that they get with that product more so than the income you're earning. In other words, that's where I made my fortune. My attitude when I would share the product with somebody is I would follow up and care more about them using it and getting results on the product more so than my income. Put this down in your notes. The fortune is in the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. That's what makes network marketing work, is because when you're sharing this product, these goods and services, you actually care about somebody using it and getting results on that product or that service. And that's where you get steady customers, that's where you get referrals, and that's where you'll retail to recruit some of your best distributors. Even if you're leading with the opportunity, you still have to build it around the product. So sharing and caring really helped me. The same concept with the opportunity. When I sponsor somebody into the business and they're serious about working a distributorship and building over here, whether it's part-time or full-time, my attitude as the sponsor is to care more about that person getting off to a fast start and the income they're earning more so than the income I'm earning as the sponsor. Doesn't that make sense? How many of you have been involved in the corporate world, corporate America? I never was exposed to that. I went from waiting tables to network marketing, and I never had that experience. But I've seen people that have been involved in the corporate America, and people at the top of big corporations, do they help people at the bottom try to get to the top? Typically, no. In network marketing, it's just the opposite. For you to be successful as a distributor, when you sponsor somebody into the business, your job and your goal is to help them become as successful as you are, or beyond. You want to help them get to the top level in the marketing plan. Zig Ziglar says it best right here in Dallas, Texas. If you help enough other people get what they want out of life, you'll have everything what you want out of life. That's why I've been successful. I've probably helped 3 or 4 dozen people become financially independent that I've worked with. I've helped hundreds and even thousands of people in my organization become successful at some different level financially with this business. So it's the concept in network marketing. It's such a great thing to be involved in because you have a product you believe in, and then you have an opportunity that makes a difference in people's lives. A lot of people say, Jeff, why do you keep doing it? Well, first of all, I enjoy what I'm doing. It's fun. I believe in what I'm doing. It's fun. I feel like I'm making a difference in people's lives out there with our product and with our opportunity. It gets to the point sometimes where it's just beyond just the money that keeps people going in the business. Now, when I first came into network marketing, sure, it was the opportunity to become financially independent. But a lot of people get involved in this business and stay in this business for different reasons. How many of you know somebody that's made a lot of money out there for themselves in this world? Sure. Some of you probably in this room that are maybe even new to network marketing. But how many people's lives have you touched and changed and helped them become financially independent or made a difference in their lives? Forget about your product. How about the opportunity? A lot of people out there today are looking for something they can get involved in and be able to work it at their own pace, not jeopardize what they've already got going, and be able to get something going on a part-time basis that could eventually become a full-time opportunity. And that's what we've got here with network marketing. Sure, there's going to be people that come in and go full-time, the exception to the rule, but the majority of the people will start off in their comfort zone and work their way right up to becoming a successful distributor and going full-time. The other concept that helped me a lot was leading, not pushing. A lot of people try to push their people to do the business versus leading. It's kind of like an old Chinese proverb. If you have a wet noodle on the table and you try to push that noodle off the table, it's very difficult. If you grab a hold of one end and pull it and lead it, it's very easy. I've always been the type of distributor that I've understood distributors do not what you tell them to do, they do what you do. You've got to lead by example. In our company, you're supposed to go out there and get about 20 customers yourself and qualify your business. Qualify yourself for all the bonuses. If you haven't done that, how could you possibly go out there and teach that or ask that of your distributors? You've got to lead by example. You've got to be the best distributor in your organization. You've got to be the one out there that has the work habits and the commitment and the discipline and the daily method of operation that success breeds success. That inspires people. That empowers people when you're out there leading. That's one thing that I always tried to do in my organization was be the best distributor in my group. I couldn't ask my new person to go out there and put on the customers or to go out there and bring people to the meetings or do whatever we were working, whatever system we were working at the time, if I wasn't doing it myself. That was another concept. The other one that really helped me was to always stay in the recruiting and the building mode versus falling into what? I developed these work habits. You know, people say, well, bad habits are hard to break. Well, guess what? So are good habits. Just as hard as it is for somebody to stop smoking, it's just as hard for me, what? To start smoking. You know, I've developed some habits now with my business and what you become. You know, it's so exciting in this business. More than the money, it's what you become in the process. You could take the money and the cars away, but you can never take away these skills. You know, it's kind of like, you know, if somebody, you know, and I have found that money doesn't change people. It just makes you more of what you already are. If you're a jerk, you're a bigger jerk. If you're a drinker, you're a drunk, right? That's a good one, huh? So every now and then I have to amuse myself and remember these little things. What I got clear on real early was this concept, and I'll spend a little time on it because there's a whole lot more that I want to cover in a short period of time. I found out in this business you earn exactly what you're worth. It's impossible to get paid if you don't talk to somebody about your product or about your opportunity. Whatever means and ways you're using to talk to people, whether it's audio cassette or conference calls or your center or whatever, if you don't talk to somebody, it's impossible. Just like the barber can't get paid if he doesn't cut the hair. The pilot can't get paid if he doesn't fly the plane. The distributor can't get paid if they don't talk to somebody. If you don't tell the story, if you don't share your product or your opportunity, how can you possibly get paid? If that's your job, is to go out there and retail and recruit and talk to people. So here's what you got to do. You've got to hold yourself accountable. You can't expect your sponsor to hold you accountable. You can't expect the company or your downline. What you got to do is employ yourself. I found in this business, the products work, the marketing plan works, the biggest variable is, do you want to work? You've got to work on yourself more than the products, more than the marketing plan. How you feel about your products, how you feel about your opportunity, but most importantly, how you feel about your own financial future. I wish Jay Martin would bottle up, instead of Juice Plus, he'd bottle up a little capsule and you'd take it and it would increase your desire, your want to, and your willingness, and being teachable and following a proven plan of action and a success formula. And that's what it all boils down to, is how bad do you really want it? How bad are you going to employ yourself and hold yourself accountable? We've been talking about it over here at our company. We know what's coming up the first of the year. New Year's resolutions. And everybody across the country is going to be talking about health and wealth. And if you want to have a good January 1, you don't wait till January 1 to get the momentum going. You start planting the seeds and getting this thing going now. So when you go into the 1st of January, you have an explosion going into the first quarter, and it sets yourself up financially for the whole year. What you do the next 40, 45 days, getting that momentum going, planting seeds, talking, sharing. Christmas is one day, not the whole month of December, guys. You have to shut down for a month. Thanksgiving's one day. You with me? It's time to be consistent. You can't have the attitude of, I'm going to shut down the month of December, because you know what happens? Here's what I found. What you do today usually doesn't show up today, it shows up the next day. What you do this week, the results usually show up the next week. What you do this month is going to show up next month. You got to get the momentum going. It's like going into the gym consistently. You're working out day after day. You're taking your product day after day, and you start to see the results. What you do this month, you'll see next month. What you do this year, you'll see next year. The results. You want to get the momentum going. Consistency of effort, work habits, and attitude. Work on that discipline, that commitment, and that daily method of operation. And don't take your opportunity and your product for granted. I always had a sense of urgency and a fear of loss. And I understood, because of timing, how important timing is, and the positioning and getting your momentum and your business going. For every day of work you miss today, next year you may have to work 5 days to equal one of these days. In our company, we're on the verge of a major business harvest. We know we're getting ready to explode. We know we've got a second wave of millionaires that are going to be created. And we're going to build it on a solid foundation this time, where the product is the superstar and people are reordering and using our product month after month. And I'm sure a lot of you are in the same situation with what you're doing. But we're creating this sense of urgency, fear of loss, and not taking the opportunity for granted. Fear of rejection. In other words, when somebody tells you no, what you've got to be willing to do is say next. One word that you need to get in your vocabulary is next. Don't worry about the ones you can't sell. Worry about the ones you can't see. Just like some of the people in your organization, that you want it more for them than they want it for themselves. What you got to understand is sometimes when you've got somebody in your group that's got a bad attitude and say, well, I've already talked to everybody in my warm market.